We do begin with that breaking news in the Middle East and now escalating fears of an all-out war in the region. The IDF has confirmed Israel has hit nuclear targets. Officials say dozens of jets completed the first stage that included strikes on dozens of military targets, including nuclear ones. Our producer on the ground in Tehran heard blasts around the city. Our teams have reported air raid sirens in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. The strikes come as the U.S. has planned nuclear talks with Iranian officials this weekend. We'll go to Tel Aviv in just a moment, but first let's go straight to senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. Selena, what are U.S. officials saying about this attack?
Well, in fact, we're just getting a statement from the White House. According to Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in the statement, he is stressing that there was no U.S. involvement in this attack. I'll just read to you part of it, saying tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. He goes on to say that Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. Now, Lindsay, this comes after the State Department had ordered non-essential diplomats out of Iraq, and the Pentagon had authorized military families to depart throughout the Middle East voluntarily if they chose to do so. The president has said that the region could become very dangerous. Now, earlier today, I asked President Trump just how imminent this strike could be. He said it very well could happen, but he stressed that he prefers a diplomatic solution. In fact, just last month, President Trump had said that he warned Prime Minister Netanyahu against striking against Iran because he said the U.S. and Iran were close to an agreement. So the big question here, Lindsay, is what this means for ongoing U.S. and Iran nuclear talks.
Selena Wang from the White House for us. I want to bring in ABC News military analyst Steve Ganyard. And Steve, we know that Israel has been warning for months, if not years, that it might strike Israel. Why now?
Lindsay, I think that they were fed up with the negotiations that the U.S. was getting played by Iran, that Iran had no intent of giving up its nuclear program, and that they were going to push forward on enrichment and eventually to a nuclear weapon. And they have sworn that they would destroy the state of Israel. And so Benjamin Netanyahu said, well, we went back in there in October and we took down all of their air defenses. They're working hard with Chinese and Russian capabilities to rearm their air defenses. And so this is a time for us to go in now before those air defenses are done, because we don't think that the U.S. negotiations are going anywhere. We think that the U.S. is getting played.
And Trump suggested earlier today that this could happen. He warned U.S. officials that they should leave the region. Is that likely that Israel tipped them off that this was imminent?
They may have given hints, but remember that frankly, the United States leaks like a sieve. And if there had been advanced warning given by the Israelis, that puts their crews in danger. They had lots of aircraft airborne tonight. And so they're not going to give the U.S. the kind of information that might leak and actually put their folks in danger to take away that element of surprise. One of the things I think we need to think about, Lindsay, is what's next. So we know that they did hit nuclear sites tonight. We know that they may have gone after some of the leadership. We're seeing pictures from Tehran of various residential areas that may have been hit. But the real response is going to come from Iran with more ballistic missiles, just like we saw, and cruise missiles, just like we saw back in October in those massive barrages. So we can expect here in the hours to come that the Iranians will retaliate, that there will be incoming missiles, both cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, towards Israel. And the real question for Israel right now is, will their air and missile defenses hold up to the same degree that they did last October, where no serious damage was done? They got lucky, and the question is, can they get lucky again?
And we will probably find out in the coming hours. Steve Ganyard, we thank you so much. I want to bring in ABC's Marcus Moore, who's in Tel Aviv at this hour. And Marcus, I see that you're no longer in that shelter. What made you feel that it's safe enough to now be out in the open?
Well, Lindsay, we got the all clear, the announcement that came down on the loudspeakers about 20 minutes after the initial warning for everyone to leave. Then afterwards, they said that thanked everyone for their cooperation. and that they could go back about their evening. And just to point out, I mean, it's the middle of the night right now, about 4 o'clock in the morning. And so if you can imagine going to sleep and then hearing the air raid sirens go off, and then if you're in one of these hotels, getting the announcement to go to the shelter. And the same warning went out on cell phones. Very similar to when there's a weather emergency, if you will, in the U.S. And there's that very distinct sound coming from the cell phones. Well, that's exactly what went off tonight. And people all across this city and in Jerusalem and really much of Israel went to their shelters. And Linsey, I can tell you it's a very tense time. It has been very tense, obviously, since October 7th. But in particular, this week, as the temperature really seemed to rise, all of it surrounding the new Iran nuclear talks on a potential new deal, and the potential that perhaps they may not be able to reach a deal. And that's what led up to what we saw tonight. We heard from an Israeli military official during a briefing just a few moments ago, Linsey, and he said that they had reached the point of no return. And that, as we heard Selena mentioning, they talked about Iran's capabilities, that they said that they are moving closer to being able to produce a weapon. The number they came up with tonight, or that they shared tonight, is that Iran could perhaps have as many as 15 nuclear weapons within days. That is what the Israeli military official said this evening, and that was their claim, and that was the reason why they went about this, what they've described as a preemptive strike on nuclear facilities, or on a nuclear facility in Iran, and Linsey, along with military targets as well, including commanders. And so there's every sense that this was a very complex operation, and one that is still ongoing tonight, and we'll wait to get an assessment on exactly what type of progress or what type of damage they were able to inflict. But of course, the big question tonight and the big concern is, how will Iran respond? And we've seen what happened last year. There were 2 different volleys of missiles and drones being fired last year, one in April, the other in October. And we're talking about hundreds of missiles. And that is a situation where potentially the air defense system here in Israel could potentially be overwhelmed. It wasn't prior to, but that is certainly the concern moving forward, and why everyone is watching to see exactly how Iran responds to tonight's strikes.
Certainly the whole world is watching. Marcus, please stay safe. Do want to let our viewers know that Netanyahu has released a pre-recorded video where he said he's not going to let the world's most dangerous regime have the most dangerous weapons. And we'll, of course, have more on this developing situation overnight and tomorrow morning on GMA.